Jokic is there to tap it in. What a play. Falling away. Good! 2.4 remaining. He saw nothing but Jokic's shoe bottoms. Looking for more. The footwork is just uncanny. Oh, what a pass to Barton. Jokic. Put it up. Nuggets lead.
Oh, yeah. It's all, I'm so easy, man. I'm so easy. That's all it takes to get me hyped.
I gotta say, that was that ended on a little bit of a down note. Wancho and Vando.
Oh, come on. They're a part of our history. You know what? We're not going to sit here and put our heads in the sand and cry about them all day. Although we can cry about them a little bit of the day. Welcome in, everybody, to the DNVR Nuggets podcast. We're live on YouTube, of course. Don't forget, subscribe, hit the like button. If you're watching this, just hit that like button. Maybe leave a comment. I don't know if that's what you want to do. I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues. Vato Loco up in the top right corner. It's Brennan Vogt.
I don't know what you just said. How's it going, everyone?
Doing great. That was the worst response to that. I just threw you like an alley-oop. And you just
I wasn't paying attention. I'm filling out the rundown.
There you go. The man with the wind in his hair. It's Harrison Wind.
I am hyped to talk about player rankings with three guys who absolutely hate player rankings. This is I've been waiting for this day forever. For a full year. For a full year since we last talked about this.
I really do hate player rankings. I know people are saying I don't. I really do hate player rankings. And then, of course, I'm joined by a man wearing a shirt designed by someone else. It's D-Line Co.
I think you just described everybody on Earth. Well, how many people walk around with shirts they designed?
Well, usually that's what you're doing, and not today. So.
And also, I got to say, I don't hate a player ranking. I find it to be
to be on this show, D-Line, you have to hate a player ranking.
It's a requirement.
You cannot like player rankings and appear on this show.
I seldomly like the results, but I like.
This is an anti-player ranking show.
I'm okay with the concept of a player ranking.
That they exist. Yeah. So everybody, if you're tuning into this as a podcast, don't forget this is a YouTube channel or YouTube show, and our YouTube channel is straight fire. I Periscope. Forget about Periscope. Periscope. The quality is whatever. But YouTube. So if you ever want to join us, our live chat that goes on from all the people watching is like A++. A++ comments. So if you ever want to just kind of join in the conversation, don't forget to check us out on YouTube. And then if you're watching on YouTube and you miss a show and you want to be in your car and listen to it, we're also a podcast. So you get us wherever you want. Check out the DNVR Nuggets podcast.
You know what I would actually recommend doing is just mute this stupid show and just read the comments. They're
much better than we are. So we have some good stuff on today's show, guys. We're going to complain about the power rankings that ESPN.
You love when we do that.
I love. This is the card we play. We're also going to share some news and notes from training camp. In fact, I want to start there because media availability with these coming out of practice, especially right now where we're not in the gym, we can't pull people aside and kind of get the skinny. Sometimes you pull a guy aside and you ask him just one or two little questions. You get a sense for what's going on. You can watch. We don't get any of that. We just get these Zoom calls that suck. And nobody's fault other than, the pandemics, but it's just the nature of it. So we're almost at the mercy of what these guys want to share. And some days it's like, okay, nothing. We asked Jokic who stood out in practice and he's like, nobody. There's just not that much.
I got to say, as I was auditing the media availability and listening to you guys ask questions of Nikola Jokic, Adam was like, man, we haven't gotten a chance to ask anybody about how the scrimmage went, how practice went. And then Adam got his chance, and he's like, hey, how did the scrimmage go? And Jokic was like,
I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention to that part of practice. I think it was good.
I saw Vlatko make a basket. Faku a steal.
What's the over/under on shots Jokic has taken in training camp so far?
4. He's taking 4, and he's 4
one per practice.
Yeah, exactly.
1 per practice. But today I thought was a very meaty media availability. There was a lot of good stuff. Monte Moore, we'll start with him because, guys, I know that things are moving fast. I know just a few days ago we talked about is Monte Morris Mr. Nugget. I think it was the headline of a show. And we're like, oh, we're going back and forth. We think so. I'm sorry, guys.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. Stamped. Write it in stone. Write it in marker. Write it in pen, whatever the phrase is. And this is official.
None of those.
Monte Morris is Mr. Nugget 2021.
Oh,
He really
Nugget for you. His media availability today, I mean, I thought was great. I mean, we knew this was his first one since getting his contract, so we all knew about it yesterday, but I guess it wasn't official until, after media availability yesterday. Now that it was official, he addressed the media, and boy, did he have some great things to say. Wind, I want you to take this, because you were the one transcribing some of these quotes here, but there was one in particular you had to throw in the group chat. It was so good.
Well, the thing that's been interesting to track with Monte as this extension has gotten done here this week, look, we all know Monte is one of the top backup point guards in the league. I think we all know there are some situations where he could be a starter. Like, he could definitely have a bigger role somewhere else than he has right now in Denver. And look, he could have not negotiated an extension and tested unrestricted free agency and probably gotten a bigger role. And I just asked him straight up today, you could have gone that route. Why did you choose to not go that route? And he pretty much had a classic Monte quote. He was like, look, I want to finish what I started here with these guys and the organization that gave me a chance as a second rounder, let me work and ascend in this rotation. I'm a culture guy. We have a great culture here. I have a lot of basketball left. I'm only 25 years old. Right now in my career, I want to try to finish what I started with this group. And I just thought that was great.
Yeah, he said it wasn't even about his role. Why not try to finish what you started, which I think for a NBA fan is the most refreshing thing you could possibly hear in 2020, a notion that seems to be flying away in the wind these days. And this is what I said when Monte signed his extension. I feel it now more than ever. If you are a fan of your local basketball team, the Denver Nuggets, and you want to feel like they want to be there and they're in on this mission with you, Monte feels that way, so this is a huge win, and I just think it's the coolest thing in the world that a guy like this is going to be around long term, in theory.
I just like that you phrased it that way too on this show. If people enjoy their local basketball team too, a group of Europeans and people from.
But that's actually exactly what I'm getting at, though. Like, you don't get a lot of those college strings and elements you can pull on in the NBA. Mm-hmm. So what we want is we don't skip steps. What we want is I want to finish this with my guys. What we want is unfinished business.
I'm just
so when you hear it,
local, it's not that like it's local.
But it is local. I mean, look, the world. No, the world is local now, right? I mean, this is the. I'm being serious. This is the thing about living in the year 2020. I guess 2020 is a bad example. Living in the 21st century, 20 years into it, that the world just is so local. Like, we get to. We're right now watching this with people in Australia, New Zealand, and Serbia. So it is local. Like, yes, maybe those people don't get to come to the DNVR bar or come to the Nuggets and watch the Nuggets play.
What's the difference?
Well, yeah, neither can we. So it is exactly the same. But what I am saying is that this Nuggets team, and I'm telling you, the more that the years go by, the more this becomes true. Like, this is a team we get to connect with like that. And hey, look, man, maybe it doesn't work out this year, but I'm watching all these scrums this week and doing all these things. The one thing I walk away from, my big overarching take is I really like this team. Like, I really like all the guys on the roster, and maybe we get 7 games into it and there's one guy, JaMychal Green, just can't make a three, and we're like, I hate when he's on the court. Or I don't know, maybe. But at least right now, man, it just seems like there's such a good mix of guys. There's so many guys I just enjoy rooting for. I'm like, man, I really hope he works out because I really, really enjoy working with him. And Monte's at the top of that list.
Totally. Yeah, in 1 week we'll be like, get that nice guy the F off my team.
He's nice, but I mean,
does nice cut it in the NBA?
Yeah. But that comment to me, I mean, we've heard. Some of this is, look, I don't want to overstate it. Some of this is talk. It's easy to win a press conference, even though a lot of guys somehow lose a press conference. But it's easy to win a press conference if you say the right things. And, like, Monte saying stuff like that is easy. But with him, he did call Campasso, right, when he got to introduce him. He is the guy that reaches out. Like, he has earned our the benefit of the doubt for all of us to sort of, like, believe him on these types of things, right? And so So that's what I think was so great. And then just him talking about wanting to be a part of this, finish what he started. Yeah. I was concerned because last year he put out the tweet, I know this is dumb, but something special is going to happen, just wait and watch, right? And I want to see the new tweet from this year. But he kind of said that today in the press conference about finishing what they started. They feel like, and I think Will Barton has reiterated some of this as well in his media availability, that they feel like this year is a continuation of a process. And I just love hearing that type of verbiage.
Beep, boop, 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 boop.
And the other part of it is like, yes, the $27 million guaranteed is nice. Like I think any second round pick who had to like go and battle in the G League in Rio freaking Grande Valley his rookie year. Anytime you could just sign on a dotted line and get $27 million, you're probably going to do that. So it's like a great business decision from Morris as well, but. You take him at his word when he says, like, I want to finish what I started here.
Hey, he could have gotten that money elsewhere. He could have gotten a starter guarantee possibly from someone. So, maybe discount is strong, but, like, there's some proof in the pudding here. He's putting his money where his mouth is.
Yeah, this is the way I feel about this show. I'm like, listen, guys, the hamburger you bought me that one time is nice, but I want to finish what we started here. I'm not just here for that burger that one time. The $27 million is
really a contrast to $27 million, the one burger. The other thing so I want to move on because one of the things we found out today is that Monte has been sharing the court with Campazzo. Okay, we assumed that, right? Like we'd been hearing that. Now we get it confirmed. But not just him. Wait, there's more. What? He's also been sharing the court with MVP of training camp so far, PJ Dozier. 3 point guards on the court, and this is Michael Malone talking, calling PJ Dozier. If he had to pick one person who has been the MVP so far, it's PJ Composure.
What?
Yeah, Eric, you're just hearing this.
Is that real?
This is a real quote from Michael Malone. Take a moment to take it in.
Hold on, because I'm rifling through the scuttlebutt I've been hearing about one Michael Porter Jr. And you're telling me that PJ
Malone's
Dozier,
never going to call him the MVP.
You're telling me that PJ Dozier is better than
It's so true.
It's totally like MPJ averaging 35 points per scrimmage, but PJ's like 2 hustle rebounds.
Well, that one defensive lapse in the last part of that second quarter.
Oh, look at that. He's frozen in time. Am I frozen in time?
No,
Nobody's
you're not frozen
in time.
So the thing about PJ Dozier, and I wrote this on the DNVR.com earlier this week. My read is that he's going to play, and there's a lot of point guards here. Monte, obviously Jamal Murray has the starting job. Campazzo, PJ. Like I think Dozier is going to play. I think he's going to get a rotation spot from the beginning of the regular season. And talking to people around the team, man. What the Nuggets love about PJ Dozier, besides just his defensive ability, how good of a player he is, he's great in the film room, from what I hear, and he is super quick to pick up like what the coaching staff is telling and instructing guys to do. He's so coachable, and that's what Michael Malone and this coaching staff loves. So I think he's going to play. I think he's going to spend a lot of time at the backup 3 in kind of the Torrey Craig role.
That's what I was going to ask.
I think he's going to be a rotation guy from the beginning of this season.
Is this, though, has your opinion changed since hearing today's presser and how effusive Michael Malone was in his praise? Or was this your opinion before?
No, this is what I've felt. This has just been my read on things throughout training camp. Like, he's too valuable, and his defense and his length is just kind of too valuable and too unique for this team to just leave him out of the rotation, in my opinion.
Yeah. What do you think, Harrison? Or Wind? Or Vogt?
Wow.
Vogt deleted my notes. I was trying to look through my notes, and Vogt deleted all of my notes for today's show. So
did you have in your notes who everyone's name was?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head from the jump that, PJ Dozier's the exact type of dude Malone would call the MVP, right? So it's not just that he's having he's not going to say it's any of the stars.
Well, I like look, PJ at the 5 in the mini lads lineup. We haven't heard a mini lads drop in a few days. Yeah, the mini lads.
I mean, there's what are your options for backup wing? Is it PJ Dozier, Bol, and Greg Whittington? So, Whittington obviously natural at the position, but PJ Dozier played in the playoffs last year. So there's a real chance when you hear Malone say this, when you hear Wynn say something enough times, eventually I'm just like, well, that's my opinion now. So I think PJ's got a chance.
Yeah, for sure. Let's look see if I can make through my notes here. What else we have on? I mean,
all right, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm just wearing a flannel shirt. Okay,
Yeah,
it's just a flannel. It's also typical white guy attire.
I'm getting flamed in the comments too. Me and Vogt, it's open season.
Tough day, bro. Tough day.
I'm told I look.
I'll undo a
extra
button
high
here.
today.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm not
I'm
bouncing at
surprised
all.
nobody's commented on my pink hoodie that I'm wearing. It's kind of slipped under the radar a little
Disgusting.
bit here.
It's disgusting the free pass you get on this show.
No, those aren't the notes, Vote. They never got placed back. I have no idea what else was said in practice today, guys. JaMychal Green.
Tough for me.
I remember JaMychal Green. I had notes on him. I don't remember what they were. Because my notes got deleted. I don't know if you guys heard, but
The quote machine that is Michael Malone had another all.
oh, he had a couple bangers. I wish I could remember them. Do you have them?
Oh my god.
He compared his point guard situation to Bubba Gump.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
Like, what's the phrasing there?
He says we're like Bubba Gump. We got every type of point guard. We got a tall point guard. We got a short point. Yeah. Did Michael Malone? I have to ask a question first of all. Does he sit at do you honestly think he is at home thinking of a line? He's
Yes.
gotta use that one. Yeah,
100%.
Bubba Gump. We're like Bubba Gump. All right, I do too. He's too good at it.
There's a notebook. Shootout at the OK Corral's underlined 3 times.
That is my notes. Yep. Adam who's in the left. Okay, that's Eric. Okay.
I mean, something else we took away from Monte's presser was we've all assumed he's playing with Campasso on that second unit, in that starting the second unit backcourt. That's what I feel like the primary second unit backcourt's going to be. And I wouldn't be surprised if Campasso and Monte and even PJ spend some time with Jamal Murray, because I think one thing the Nuggets want to do this regular season is play Jamal Murray off the ball more. Just kind of conserve his energy a bit, get him some easy looks that way. So the tons of point guards, that's definitely a theme of this team.
I can't. We're getting teabagged here, and I can't tell if this is if he's in on the joke or if he's genuinely outraged that he has to pay for Eric's content on the series. I hope he's serious. I hope he is outraged that Eric is part of the paywall portion of the show.
I don't know if that's how we would frame it. That's what we're charging.
That is what we're charging for. No, I'm going to phrase it that way, guys. Hey, but if you pay $5 a month, you can get Eric's opinions.
Look, man, I was there when he filmed all 5 of them yesterday. Worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Yeah. It's true. I wrote down nary a note. I just went.
Really? Shocker.
I went deep into my brain to figure out what I actually thought.
Yeah, he had another one-liner. I had it written down. I don't remember what it was. It was another one of his little things. Do you have it, Win? Do you remember what his little one-liner was? This is why I write things down, because I can't remember anything.
He's got so many one-liners that it's just, the amount of one-liners from Malone in my head is just overflowing.
There's another Monte quote
what happened to
that
Vogt? Where did he go?
I liked. Am I frozen?
Adam is
it's Adam.
Okay. Anyway,
good.
there's another
Adam
Monte quote
is in
that I
the
liked.
shadow realm today. He is I don't know what is going on with Adam.
He said he just wants to be a role model for someone else that was undrafted or drafted late. And he already is one. I mean, we've already heard several new guys in Denver say that they view Denver as a place where they can come and get opportunity because of what Monte Morris did, because of what Torrey Craig did. So I just thought that was a cool quote as well. And he wants to accomplish something that, in my mind, he actually already has.
I really am struck by the idea that Denver is turning into San Antonio, where you just have this idea that there's a system in place that that's bigger than the team itself, and people want to be involved in it. It's exhilarating. I can't think of many other places in the league that people would say that.
Right.
I mean, they want to go to the Lakers because they want to be on TV. They want to whatever. But there's not many places people aren't man, I really want to get into that Atlanta Hawks system. They really are.
Right.
They're not even saying that about San Antonio anymore. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. Why don't we take a break? On the other side of this break, though, JaMychal Green deserves quite a bit of conversation, because I thought he had a great presser today, including who he thinks has impressed him. It wasn't PJ Dozier, but he had another name that'll shock you on the other side.
DraftKings Sportsbook. America's top-rated sportsbook app is wishing you the happiest of holidays. Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. They're wishing you the happiest of holidays. To kick off the season of giving, DraftKings has new promotions and odds boosts every day this week. Luckily for us sports fans, there is an abundance of action taking place this week. Football teams are in the hunt to secure their place in the playoffs, while college basketball season is clearly well underway. There's no better place to get in on all the action. If you haven't tried DraftKings Sportsbook yet, head to the App Store now because you don't want to miss this. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new players the chance to earn a sign-up bonus up to $1,000.
Do we have a crazy odds boost today? Let me see if there's
when signing up using the promo code DNVR.
Yeah, we got to check every day now.
Yeah, you got to check every day. There's that odds boost tab on the mobile app. You just scroll over to that, hit
There's also
that,
the
boom.
promos at the bottom.
Crazy odds every single day.
20%.
DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new users, like I said, the chance to earn a sign-up bonus up to $1,000, but you got to sign up using the promo code DNVR. So make sure to download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get up to $1,000. That's code DNVR to get a deposit bonus up to $1,000 for a limited time. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus. Deposit bonus requires a 25x playthrough. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
I got a question. So I'm going to make a bet here because they give that Thursday night football bet where if your guy scores the first touchdown, you win. But if he scores any touchdown, you get your money back. So who should I go for here? Me not knowing football great here. Cam Akers?
Me not knowing football great. That is the most Cro-Magnons.
Me not knowing football great here. Go where? Who I bet for?
Let me see.
Henderson, Robert Woods?
You know who's not a
Somebody
bet?
give me some football advice in the comments.
Take
I'm
Cam
trying
Newton. Take Cam Newton.
Wait, what is the bet?
The first
Who
touchdown
scores
score.
first?
I don't want to take
first
Cam Newton. I don't want to take Cam
touchdown
Newton. I don't want to take
Robert
What a
Woods.
stupid...
Robert Woods and Cam Newton are both good money odds.
You-
Oh man, we're doing it. We're putting $5 here.
You can't
Robert Woods.
decide who you're going to bet
Gonna win
on whether or not
50.
you like them. That's
I just did.
Did you notice, Harrison, there's an odds boost that is specifically tailored to you?
There is.
It is, let's see, Hanukkah Harry. N'Keal Harry to score a touchdown. Boosted
What?
to plus 510.
Oh, I feel like I've got to take this bet now.
You probably do.
This bet is speaking to me.
All right, so JaMychal Green, guys, let's get into it. I'm a fan. First off the top, big fan of JaMychal Green, man. So number one, before we get to who's really shocked him, he just like talking about coming from grit and grind, like that's where he came up. And by the way, JaMychal Green fits this Denver Nuggets persona. I believe, was he undrafted or was he a second rounder? I can't remember.
Second rounder,
I'm
I
gonna
believe.
look second rounder. So second round pick, and probably shouldn't have been in the league. I actually think he did fall out of the league for a brief period. Comes back and does the whole like G League route, end of bench route, into the rotation route, and now like
He was
a key
undrafted,
plays.
by the way.
He was undrafted, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I think he actually spent a couple of years abroad before actually like getting into the G League system. So he fits this Denver Nuggets mold, I think, to a T. But he also, coming from grit and grind, he was asked a really great question about whether you were like, born. Everybody kept. Some people get upset when you use this terminology. He's a dog. He used it himself, so like, he welcomes this.
I think by this time, everybody on the team has called JaMychal Green a dog. Like,
Exactly.
even every member of the
Everyone.
coaching staff, the training staff, the front office, he has been called a dog by everyone.
Yeah. So anyway, so he says that you're just born with it, and that he was very lucky that he landed in Memphis because where that was a culture that was rewarded and appreciated, and that cultivated really. Like they wanted to bring that out of you, which I just love, man. Like, I mean, he just seems like a dude that is like, he's about the right stuff, and he is here to be the hard hat and lunch pail guy. So I just loved it. And I love that he used grit and grind because it really is one of those things. And you hope that Denver develops enough of a culture that even if guys are to leave, they bring a piece of that culture with you. I mean, everybody talks about this with San Antonio, right? Whether it's their coaches or front office or even players, they're bringing in that Spurs culture. Hopefully you get there, but that's exactly what JaMychal Green said. He is grit and grind because that's where he was birthed into the NBA through that culture, and I just thought that was really cool.
It is cool. Do you think that he meant a dog like this dog? Like he just meant he's lazy, sort of like he just doesn't really do anything at practice? Things like that?
Don't think he's that kind of dog.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
I love the idea. We've talked a lot about this sort of angle of, there's fresh blood, right? Sort of change up the vibe in training camp, and maybe some younger guys that are eager to be here and know their role. The sort of cherry on the top of that is grabbing a role player from that Clippers team. I just think it's such a fun boost, and I think it might be a fun boost for the team as well, to sort of have this dude slowly be indoctrinated into the culture that won out against arguably the more talented team or whatever. So it's just a fun angle. It's just a fun angle.
You know, I'm so glad you said that. I never really thought about this. This is our reverse Andre Iguodala. Like we got beat by
yes!
Golden State, and then Andre went there.
Yeah,
oh my God, it's penance. Jermichael Green, let's go, baby.
He almost doesn't mind. Go ahead.
Or I was going to say, or it's like Kevin Durant joining the Warriors after the Thunder came back,
Exactly.
or they came back from 3-1 against the Thunder.
Just like that.
Yeah. A little lower of a player, but
I never even put this together, man. We have the what is it? The shoe is on the other foot.
Yeah, the table is turned.
Yeah.
So the thing is, he has really mentioned it a lot, this series, right? I mean, it seems he's only done 2 pressers, but it keeps coming up by him, not by other people. But he keeps talking about, like, playing against and, like, oh, that's really what I saw when, and he almost stopped himself today when they when that series happened or something like that. Like, but you could tell, like, I really do think Denver made an impression on him. Not just in that series, because he talked about having, almost coming here last summer and this relationship with Malone. But it does really seem that I really buy that he wanted to be here and kind of had his eye on his, like, excited to be here. But let's get on to the Feast de Resistance. The Feast de Resistance.
Hungry.
The J. Michael Green. We would play the forwards graphic right now if we had it, Eric. If we had such a graphic.
I did make it. I even sent it to you.
I saw Eric.
Do we have the forwards?
Yesterday during a live show we were actually
not
doing.
send me a forwards graphic.
I sent it to Allie because you always said I'm supposed. All right, you know what? I'm sending it to you right now. Right freaking now.
Anyway, Jermichael Green was asked who was the biggest standout in camp so far. Like, not the biggest standout. Who has surprised him, right? Like, he didn't realize was good. Easy. Like, he didn't hesitate. He goes, Bobo. And honestly, it took me a second to think about who he was talking about for some reason. I thought he said Bobo. Bobo. And
that's the quiet part. You don't.
He's got a thick Southern accent, is all I'm saying. But he says Bobo, and he kind of just. It's funny because it really reminded me of when the players all arrived in the bubble. There it is. Look at forwards. That graphic's all right. Yeah, that's okay. That's pretty much a basic graphic. But this is so much bullying today.
It is ridiculous. The amount. You know what? I'll save this for offline.
It reminds me of the bubble. When everybody, Will Barton, Michael Malone, Mason Plum, everybody was just like, "Yeah, Bol. I didn't realize he was this good." And that's what Jermichael Green basically said, and said his potential is like, I can't remember what his exact quote was, but the guy has so much potential.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to think if I just walked into a gym, my eyes would naturally gravitate to the 7'2" dude also.
Right.
So.
Right. And, the other guys who have been here, like, they're probably a little used to seeing Bol do Bol stuff. I would imagine if you've never really seen him play, and then you show up to practice one day, and he starts doing that stuff, you're probably blown away.
The greatest part about all of this is that if Adam makes a Google Doc, and a Google Doc exists in the world that has any kind of notes, and you ask something of him that exists on the Google Doc, and be like, check the Google Doc!
Per my last email. Yeah,
I feel like now at this point, we're going to all lose access to this Google Doc now that Brendan went in and... so maybe you actually have done us all a favor, Brendan. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
The clip that the Nuggets put out a couple of days ago of Bol just like coming around the screen and then riding up into just this mid-range jumper, it was so smooth. It was like such smooth execution, and I don't know, like that was just that clip has just stuck in my mind ever since because it's just so crazy seeing Bol do that kind of stuff.
Are you getting a sense, guy? I know this is the stuff we talk about the first week of practice when we're just picking up little morsels and trying to connect dots, whether they're there or not. So I'm trying to say that we have strong takes on this, but do you get the impression, Vogt, that Bull is closer to playing than you thought, or less close to playing based on what you've heard come out of camp so far?
If anything, I would probably say less, just because they spent through the offseason preparing us for that possibility. And, it would have been great to hear, like, everything we've heard about PJ, Campazzo, Michael. You would sure like to have heard that about Bull. And it sounds a little more inconsistent. So, but again, I don't know if that surprises me, at the same time. So I do, like I said on yesterday's show, I think this is going to be the story with Bull all through training camp and maybe even the season. Like 1 week it's great, and the next week maybe we're a little less confident.
Yeah. It's the story of the show, Ezra Jacobs. That's the story of the show.
Just trying to talk Nuggets. Sorry, bro. Do you want to talk about the Nuggets? We'll do
I think Bull's probably just he's a little further away than I think maybe I would hope he would be, or I hoped he was coming into camp.
Well, the funny thing about this conversation, just in general, is that people act like once the starting lineup has been minted, it's been, as Adam would say, written in stone. Or
it's written in stone. Yeah.
I mean, someone, there'll be 5 guys on the court, and if it doesn't work, then they'll put, they'll figure it out. Especially this year, is going to be particularly malleable with 7 new players coming in, absolutely no training time, 3 preseasons games, and they don't even have the full squad that they started with last year. We don't know if Barton's going to play at the beginning or anytime soon. We have no idea. I especially know nothing. So
that was a note to come out of today. Will Barton probably going to be doubtful for the preseason opener Saturday. No big surprise there if you guys have been listening to this show.
But I will say that him saying that he'll be doubtful and maybe or whatever does make me think that he's closer. I mean, it wasn't he didn't completely slam the door shut on it, although it sounds this is like coach speak for he's almost certainly not playing. Sure. But it did give me I do get the sense that Barton isn't like a month out. I do get the sense that he's probably close and they're just being extra precautious. So we'll see how that plays out. Of course, we thought the same thing about Isaiah Thomas this time last year, or 2 years ago, so who knows. Right. Let's talk quickly, guys. Also, Michael Malone talked about the vaccine. That's starting to become a topic. The Nuggets having access to it, and he mentioned being concerned because are they supposed to be? He said in the bubble he felt this way. They were getting all these tests when nobody else, in certain states at least, people didn't have access to a COVID test, and he said he felt guilty for that, and with this vaccine even more so. I have thoughts on this, but I kind of want to open it up because I do think it's going to become a conversation. We don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but I do think it's going to become a conversation because I'm pretty certain NBA players are going to have access to the vaccine ahead of 99.9% of the U.S. population. I'll go to you first on this one, actually, Eric. Do you feel like this is a concerning thing, as Michael Malone expressed today?
I do not feel that way. I mean, I feel like what the NBA players are providing is something larger than just themselves. Their being safe allows us to be entertained. It allows this industry to take place. It allows jobs to happen. So it's not just millionaires getting richer because they're millionaires. It's really funny, too, to look back, the initial outrage about people being like, how come they get tests? As though tests were the cure for COVID.
Right.
Who cares if you probably have a pretty good idea whether or not you have COVID or not.
Right.
The fact that you didn't get an opportunity to have your nose swabbed early on. My point being, people are going to be outraged about anything all the time when it comes to this specific topic because it is just so deep in our society. The defining
thing, item of 2020, maybe of the decade.
Yes, potentially our lives. So, I want them to get first because I want them to play the NBA, and then we'll all get it in time. And what are we talking about? How many players are in the NBA?
But I think you'd like to hear at least self-awareness, which is why I appreciated the Malone quote.
Sure.
I mean, it's
sure.
The reality is there are going to be people that don't feel that way. And I mean, you're right, Eric. What will the outrage amount to? Would it have been there anyway? I'm picking up everything you're putting down. I just appreciate Malone taking the time to say he acknowledges that perspective because it's not outlandish. They're not essential workers, even if I do understand what you're getting at.
Sure, of course. The idea though, when it comes to this specific topic, it is literally impossible not to conjure outrage, however, in any direction. But like we're talking about 200 people. Like
Mitchell James, it's more than that, but nonetheless, Mitchell James has a great point here, and this is something that I actually read from. I can't remember where it came from. A well-sourced person saying that to cover the entire NBA, including all the staffs, takes less than a minute. If we just talk about how long it takes to produce this, so of course this isn't completely fair because how many of these do we start saying? But like. It's not like it's not like if the NBA were to come back and it required them getting this vaccine or whatever, it's going to put the world on hold. I mean, in this massive way.
Right.
And then the argument becomes, what does the NBA provide to society? Is it worth like, hey, 1 minute's worth of production delayed for everyone? Of entertainment. I mean, that to me at least should be considered in all of this. And I of course sway, and I'm biased on.
Dope.
My biggest question about the vaccine is how many NBA players are going to want to take it. That's what I'm just very curious to see, because it's going to be impossible for this to be like something written into the CBA and agreed on with the NBA PA and the NBA. That is totally out of the question. That would never fly. Nor do I think it should fly. Maybe it shouldn't be a requirement to get a vaccine if you're an NBA player. I wouldn't want to force an NBA player to do that. But I'm just curious to see which players get it, which players are very vocal about not getting it, and what are the different requirements if a player chooses to opt out. Do they have to get tested more? Do they have to, or are they held to different standards? I'm just very curious to see how that develops and how the league handles that aspect of it.
Yeah, I don't think the league I don't think can strictly enforce this, but can it get to a point where a player can say, whatever I have to go through then to circumvent this, is it worth it to me? And look, let's keep it real. From the Nuggets fan perspective, who's the most important player on the team this season? Michael Porter Jr. He's told us how he feels about vaccinations. So not a problem until it's a problem, but there are some tectonic shifts at play here for sure.
Yeah, I feel, just quickly though, like that concept, I feel like will be the people who have those kinds of feelings will be tested, because it's not like you are having to stay home because of polio. So the idea that you can re-enter the world if you allow a vaccine might be a little bit more convincing this time around. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Let's hit a break, and then let's get to our main topic today, which is, of course, Nikola Jokic comes in number 10 in ESPN's ranking. Too high, too low, and how many players, whether you think of the ranking, you personally, how many guys would you take ahead of Jokic if you were building a team?
First up, do we have a WGT name for this weekend? I know we have a tourney.
Yes.
Do we have any word on what the name of the tourney is?
We talked about it yesterday. The name of the tournament is The Ball is Poppin' Open.
The Ball is Poppin' Open this weekend on WGT. Sign up at the DNVR 4 Country Club. Download WGT, the official gaming partner of DNVR, and then search for the DNVR 4 Country Club. If you want to be eligible for the prizes that we give out every week, screenshot, screen grab your scorecard, and reply to the pin tweet on the DNVR_sports account. You can also send it to info@thednvr.com.
We'll post our scores too, so you can either dunk on us or be dunked on upon by us.
I always post my score every single week. Not afraid to post it. Also, make sure to subscribe to Strava Craft Coffee. They have a subscription service now. You can subscribe and save 20% on a Strava Craft Coffee subscription. Get your coffee every 2, 3, 4, 6, or 8 weeks. And say it with me, guys. You will be
honking
like a goose.
Does everyone just quickly retell that story, Brandon? I feel like everybody knows this story.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, I put my brother on that CBD goodness. He hit me with a review the other day. Left him honking like a goose. We can only assume that this is a positive review. Strava, call me. We'll get an ad spot.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what it means, but we like how it sounds.
Yeah. We don't know what honking like a goose means. We do know it's a positive review of Strava Craft Coffee. So with the
do you know what it means?
DNVR20. You can get 20% off a Strava Craft Coffee subscription.
Dude, I hope everyone is
like a goose. I'm going to.
I hope everyone is watching these player previews, because look at the toll they've taken on Adam. He is a complete disaster today.
Yeah, dude, this is like. I apologize for the notes thing, but I take no responsibility for his internet.
An absolute mess.
Just a mess.
It is playoff P, fourth quarter Adam time.
No, just to peek behind the curtain, I had trouble getting through some of yesterday's player previews that we filmed because Eric, right next to me, was just honking like a goose for like 3 hours straight.
Hold on. That actually brings... Okay, we have to address a fallacious claim about me honking in a different sense, like a pig, I suppose. We need to do some investigative reporting here. Kale, are you ready with the
attempts?
Guys, this dude is a bucket getter. I think number one shooter on the Nuggets roster. Yeah. What stands?
Ready. So okay, this is a comment on Reddit. So bring it back up. Let's read this together. What Reddit accused me of.
Attempts.
Guys,
you can see here at 120 it says you can hear
I
Eric
think number one
rip
shooter on
I did not.
the Nuggets roster. Yeah. What stands?
Let's listen one more time.
Attempts.
Guys, this dude is a bucket getter. I think number one shooter on the Nuggets roster. Yeah. What stands?
I was clearly laughing.
I will say, I was sitting right next to Eric. If I would have heard something or felt something, I would have definitely made it known.
Unbelievable. It was a terrible confluence of events. I had sort of a muffled laugh, and I shifted at the same point in time. You people are unbelievable. I'm getting flamed in the comments again. I want my justice. There will be justice. I did not honk like anything. There was no honking that took place on that show. I can't believe this.
All right, well, I don't know if you made your case properly or not, but whatever. It doesn't.
I see that I have no one on my side of the comments.
All right, Jokic, guys. So we saw Michael Porter Jr. come at 51. We saw Jamal Murray at 21. Here we go. Jokic just barely in the top 10. And by the way, technically I think he moves up because I believe last year ESPN had him at 9, but I don't think they ranked KD and Curry. I can't remember if those guys were on or not or whatever. So
KD was unranked. Yep.
Unranked. Okay, so basically he's in the exact same spot because now KD's back and they move him out. So we can keep that up for a second, Kale, because I kind of want to look at it here. If again, it's a ranking, whatever we want to make of this, but how fair is this, Harrison, in your mind? The order that they have people.
I think it's fair. Everybody obviously jumps to the Jokic ranking, and do we have what he was ranked last year? Because last year's rankings didn't include Kevin Durant, for example, because he was obviously
yes, Harrison. We just covered literally every ounce of that.
Say, were you listening? Sorry. Is that what I said?
So I gotta say, and obviously Doncic jumps up here into the top 5.
He's number 4.
That is ridiculous. Wow. That is ridiculous. He's not the 4th best player in the NBA. He is quite good. But what's funny is that we yesterday we were like, he'll probably come in at 9. And the fact that he's off by 1, I'm outraged.
Well, there are 2 people on this list to me that I personally would say I for sure like behind him. Number 1 is Damian Lillard, which I think Damian Lillard's a really good player. I think he's a great leader. I think he's proven it to the same degree that Jokic has over his career. But if you ask me going into the season who you'd rather have, to me this one I don't feel like it's too much of a homer take to say no. Jokic just does. I mean, he does everything. Jokic is ahead of Damian Lillard for me before I put my fan glasses on.
Yeah,
clearly,
I agree. And look, they met in that series, and yes, we all know Portland won. And yes, we're the Denver guys taking the Denver guy. But the reality is Jokic was the best player in that series.
Easily.
And easily the best player. Look, I think Dame's incredible, but I think we've sort of seen, or at least scraped the ceiling of Dame's impact. And I think you have to build a team carefully and get really lucky to build a contender around him. I actually think it's easier to do around Jokic, despite Jokic being a big who is supposedly a defensive liability, and this is a guard-heavy league. Dame's defense doesn't get brought up much either. He could be a turnstile in the playoffs. So, to me, I know Dame has a longer career, of sort of being this guy, but in the last 2 to 3 years, Jokic's been the better player.
I've personally watched Dame Lillard be completely schemed out of a series more than one time, and that's literally impossible to do with Nikola Jokic. You cannot, you can send doubles at him, but then he just will pick you apart by passing the ball off to the right place. And what Drew Holiday was able to do to Damian Lillard when the Pelicans went up against the Trailblazers, and he just he turned him into nothing, like erased him, and you can't. That's not, to me, that says everything.
Yeah, Dame did have that great run of 50-point games. Like he's had some great individual performances.
Until he went up against Gary, and then that was the end.
Yeah, I'm not going to say like I'm outraged by this ranking or anything like that. Like it's within the ballpark. But to me, I do wonder just about, like, I'm surprised Dame is even ahead of Steph Curry. Like, we're putting him ahead of Steph. And then on top of that, the one thing I keep coming back to, one of my big takes this year, I actually think this is going to be Jokic's best season so far. I know that shouldn't be controversial because he's older.
And you're right every year.
And I am right every year. But I'm telling you, this time I think it's going to be even more so. Like, I really expect great things from Jokic right from the jump. He looks phenomenal. By all accounts, he's energized. I think this could be a monster Jokic year. And if he was 9 last year, I think he only is higher. The other guy I wanted to mention, though, here, and is the guy right in front of him, James Harden. If you would have done this thing a year ago, I mean, I think, yeah, James Harden is just so talented, and even with all of his flaws, we could say it. But James Harden has become more defined by his flaws over the last 365 days, and especially over the last 20 days. Like, is he really a guy that you would take to start a team just for one season right now over Nikola Jokic? To me, I think that all of James Harden's red flags and like the sirens are going off big time. And we've seen this with players like, his ex-teammate Russell Westbrook. We've seen this with high-profile guys who have sort of like reached their peak, have not grown in the ways that they needed to grow. And now it's like, hey, guys, he's not going to get it. Like, and that's how I am with James Harden. It's not like, well, he's 31 and now he's ready to start playing winning basketball. No, the dude... Do we have any indication that this guy gets it? So can he make the step back three? Can he do all those things? Sure. And those things are really good and valuable. James Harden's a phenomenal player as well. Yeah. But I think that we do have to factor into this, like, do his teammates like him? Clearly, at the moment, they hate his guts. He's treating all of them like complete and total shit. He's flamed out on high-profile moments, over the last couple of years.
Oh, dude. Shrinking.
So James Harden, to me, is the other name on this list that, to me, I'm curious what the outside world thinks, because, of course, we're in our own little bubble on this. But to me, I feel like even before I put on my fan glasses, I'm taking Jokic over Harden right now.
I mean, if this is supposed to be a projection, don't all signs project to Harden having a rough season? I mean, I know it's what you were just saying, Adam, but it's like, I don't understand. Yeah. Right. It's hard to project him being any better than he's been the last 3 to 4 years at least.
I feel like Harden has now officially entered the Carmelo Anthony zone, where he is the guy that is the guy, except for that he can't, the guy that can't get it done, and now he's just starting to alienate teammates.
My only pushback, I do have a little pushback on that. I mean, look, I see everything everyone sees in Harden that sort of turns them off. It's just also true that if Chris Paul doesn't pull a hamstring against arguably the greatest team ever assembled, like, James Harden wins a title. So it just feels, I see what everyone else is seeing, and I don't see the dog in him that I do in some of the other guys on this list. Again, dog being a good thing. This guy, yeah, but I think it's going a bit too far to say he can't be the best player on a championship team just because he hasn't been.
Well, it's not that we haven't seen him do it. We've seen him be an active negative. Like, he is trying to fill the role that he has established for himself the entire year. And then when it comes down to, like, okay, cool, you're the guy. Like, you've said it all year. Like, you dribble the air out of the ball every time you have it. And it's like, cool, now it's the playoffs, and you're terrible. Like, you're bringing your team down. Like, that counts.
I do want to go back to Vogt's point, because I do think he's right, and I do think on some of this Harden stuff it goes way out of hand. I mean, look, he's one of the greatest scorers I've ever watched, and I love the game basketball. I love the technical aspect, the footwork aspect of it. And he's a 100 out of 100 on that. Like, I appreciate how great he is. And going back to your point about 2018 Vogt, you're right. They were so close. It reminds me a bit, though, of Carmelo in 2009, where if you would have stopped his career right there, you would have said, oh, he was just starting to learn the lessons. But I don't think that was true. What I think it was true was he had a strong-minded leader in Chauncey Billups by his side and point guard, and a tiny window in which he was, open to the feedback from a strong leader. And then he was gone. And then he was back to the old Melo, and he was fighting with coaches and taking terrible shots and not playing any defense, and his team wasn't very good. And I think with James Harden, we might have a similar situation. He's with Chris Paul. We all know Chris Paul, a fantastic, sort of floor general, great locker room presence. And I think that we got peak Harden in 2018. I think the last 2 years have been declining Harden.
I feel like I just heard something from Vogt.
Yeah, it's my chair. I've addressed this. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Vogt. I have another bone to pick with this list, but go ahead on Harden.
Me too, and I'm actually eager to keep it moving. So I'm picking up what Adam's putting down.
So my biggest problem with this list is the guy at number 2, Anthony Davis. I know he just won a championship and everything, but I would have Jokic over Anthony Davis. Where is Anthony Davis on this list if he's still on the Pelicans?
Yeah.
Like 7, 8, 9, 10? He's only number 2 because he's playing next to LeBron right now. I mean, if he is the main guy on a team, if he is the number 1 guy on a team, he's not in the top 5. And I just don't get why he's suddenly number 2 just because he's playing next to the greatest player of all time. I would take Nikola Jokic over Anthony Davis 10 out of 10 times. I think he's a better player. I think he's a better number 1 option. That's my biggest bone to pick with this list.
You'll notice if you watch ESPN and they go to like the Sports Center, they have the whole intro is like about how they're broadcasting from Los Angeles. Like that's a good thing. I'm always like, that sucks. They're showing like images of downtown LA. They're like Sports Center LA. I'm like, that's horrible. I don't want that. I wish you were broadcasting from the moon. Like, I don't want you to be like.
I agree. I think AD, to be like a tiny bit of pushback, even though I agree with the larger point Harrison made, AD was everything he needed to be and more as the second banana. Like, he answered every single question that was asked of him, except for can you be the best player on a team? So I do think he's one of the 5, probably 6 best players in the world. But I also agree with Wynn that to be in that top 3, top 4, to be number 2, I mean, you better be definitively the best player on your team. We don't have to throw our detective caps on to figure out what changed for him between New Orleans and LA.
So this goes back to what I think is one of my biggest points. And I thought Bill Simmons on his podcast yesterday, I think it was, had a really great point about the athletes today and how much they change and how quickly we give them everything once they win, even if they kind of stack the deck. Is I said the same thing about Kevin Durant. Was he that much of a better player in 2017 than he was 2016? But he won in 2017, so we all, we kind of hand him the trophy, and he should be this or that. And I think the same thing's happening here with AD. This is going to make me very unpopular. I don't mind AD being ranked ahead of Jokic because he was so fantastic in that playoffs. He's so talented. The defensive aspect, and this or that. Now, could he carry a team the way Jokic is the best player on a team? I don't think so. But to me, that's not the only way you measure it. But I do have a problem with him being number 2. Because for all the things we just said, like he's not that different of the guy that was wearing "That's All, Folks" and couldn't get a Pelicans team that featured another All-Star, by the way, Drew Holiday. He's maybe a little different. I mean, he is every year he's getting closer to his prime, closer to his apex. So I do think, and he performed at such a high level. Like I do want to give him credit for that. I just hate elevating a guy all the way up to number 2 when it's like, oh yeah, you had LeBron on your team, like. 1-2 on this exact same team according to this list, and that's the part that I don't like, but I just don't see it changing. I mean, James Harden goes to Brooklyn, let's say, here in a week, and they end up winning a title, and everyone says, well, Kyrie, Harden, and KD figured it out. Like, they all really rose to the account. Maybe you just had so many good players that eventually nothing else matters. No lessons need to be learned. No culture needs to be established. No, sacrifices have to be made. You just put yourself in position that you didn't have to grow out of your flaws. That's not life. People... If you really go from a grassroots up, you like to at least believe that there were some obstacles overcome and lessons learned and sacrifices made. And I just feel like AD, that's the part that I hate about this, is I just don't feel like that happened.
That's
Look,
funny.
if you're still trying to figure out who carries who, like in LeBron relationships, it's LeBron. It's LeBron.
Right.
If you're looking at this list for the way that life is, Adam, you may potentially be looking at this in the wrong way. There are no life lessons on this list, which is why we're throwing it out.
all of this said, I think if you're LeBron James, I don't know if there's another player in the entire league you would pick before you'd pick AD.
Totally.
So I get it.
Probably not.
But I think we've articulated. I like all of our takes here. I think it's the difference between 6 and 2, 5 and 2. So
the thing that's funny to me is if you would have given James Harden Anthony Davis back in, did I freeze or what? If you give him Anthony Davis back in 2018, the year that they took Golden State to Game 7, even with Kevin Durant, if you swap out Chris Paul for Anthony Davis, does that team get over the hump? Because I think Anthony Davis fits with James Harden. That's a pick and roll duo. He's a defensive player. Like, he brings a lot of that. They were so close with Chris Paul. If AD is an upgrade, and if he's the second best player, he's probably better than Chris Paul. If he's an upgrade, it makes me wonder. And then are we talking about James Harden and how great he is? And Anthony Davis, James Harden number 1, Anthony Davis number 2. This is what's so dumb about it. It becomes so reductive. And I think the conversation fuels these players wanting to just make it, go to these big markets and make it easy. And them going and having success fuels the rankings. And it's just the cycle that we're in where it's like, we're always going to have these dumb conversations.
This thing goes deep. The one thing I will say is that we as a company all ranked the top 50 players of the last decade last year, and like you don't realize at a certain point when you're like, there's like political things between the people that are making the decisions. You're like, fine, I'll let you have this guy.
There was some of that was annoying.
You end up with a list that not one person would be like, that's my list right there.
Yeah. So it's, at a certain point, like, you also realize you're sort of playing to the crowd, and there's no more popular players than LeBron James and Anthony Davis at this point in time. So ranking them high on a list is, that's a business decision, I would say.
Well, so to get out of here, now let's throw out who's better, because that's what the list was who's better. Here's the real list.
Ooh.
How many guys you have to build a team for this year? You're doing a schoolyard pick. You have the number 1 pick. Where are you going, Vogt?
Number 1, I don't know anything else about my team.
But I'm saying it's you. It's not just about the winning. It's like you get to build around a guy, Like it's...
Oh, for me, it's Nikola Jokic. I wouldn't trade Jokic for any player in the league. And then there's guys, maybe, arguably, they have that same impact, but then they're not Jokic. And, like, for those in Denver, the feeling is Jokic is our guy. I would.
I gotta say, I would probably go number 1, LeBron James, and then Anthony Davis after that.
Get out of here, man. Get out.
Harrison, what about you?
Just picking a guy number 1, I'd go LeBron.
Where would Jokic? I should more say, like, where would Jokic fall for you? Just in terms of, like, you were adding it at all of it to, like, where you want to root to. Because let's be honest, even if James Harden was the best, I'd be like, I don't want him.
Yeah,
Get him out of here.
Right? Like, I want to enjoy watching.
It would definitely not be James Harden, not be Anthony Davis. I think I would go Jokic at 3.
Behind who's number 2?
Probably Giannis.
Okay. For me, it's easy. I mean, it's Jokic number 1 for me too. The other guys in the running would probably be a Giannis, a Luka. Steph is fun, but I think he's got to prove it to me again. But Jokic, to me, it's the perfect combination. Yeah. He's good enough for us to believe and to buy in, likable enough, and he's our guy. So for me, I look at it. Go ahead.
I gotta say the Luka thing is weird to me. He gets credit where other people get discounted. Like, they're
because he's early in his career.
That's what I mean. But
should
people
be that
are like,
way, though.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, he's getting too much credit early. People are like, well, this so and so has never been able to win it. It's like, Luka hasn't won anything.
It'll correct. If he doesn't win in 2 to 3 years.
I know, but we're at that point. That's when he moves up the list.
You're arguing for us to do the thing we shouldn't do, like just start. This is what happened with Jokic. We didn't get to, we got to enjoy it because we insulated ourselves. But it was like there's people in Jokic's early where they're.
Why is he above Jokic?
He's really good.
He's
really good. I mean,
he's my pick to win MVP this year. Like, if I'm betting money on it, for what it's worth.
He's overrated for this point in his career. He's really good. I'm just saying, like, if we're looking at, like, I would pick Jokic to start a franchise well over Luka, because
is Luka Doncic just a European James Harden? That's the question.
Could be.
Yeah, God, this conversation got real annoying. Thanks so much for tuning in. We do have Vlatko Chanchar, guys. We filmed all these season previews. We highly encourage you guys to check those out. We put a lot of it free. Eric's fan perspective is what you have to pay for. That's the only thing behind the paywall. It's the one thing behind there. No, it's not true. We've got behind the paywall. So the first half, you get our conversation, all of us together. In the second half, which is for DNVR members only, up on the DNVR.com, you get my interview with George Karl. You get Eric giving his crazy takes. You get Brendan going online and seeing what the fans are talking about and kind of analyzing where the fans' mentality is at, and then Harrison sharing some insight from scouts and secret sources, some wind chimes. So check it all out, guys. And then coming up in 15 minutes, we're going to have our premiere of the Vlatko Chanchar episode. You won't want to miss it. All right, everybody. Have a good one. What happened to my song? Did I run out of song? I've never run out of
You
song
are
before.
a mess. Like, just a disaster.
Tough episode. Oof.